Thank you for joining us again at another episode of Pursuit of Purpose. I'm Robbie, and I'm Chuck. And today we have a very special guest with us. I'm going to let her tell everybody a little bit about herself. Go ahead.
I'm Miriam, and I'm a foreign exchange student from Italy, which basically means that I'm here to study for a year.
Here to study for a year. So you said you're Miriam. What's your last name, Miriam?
Soroni.
Zeroni. All right. And how old are you?
I'm 17.
17 years old. How long did it take you to prepare to become a foreign exchange student?
I think I made this decision a year before coming here because it's a long process.
So you say it's a long process. How did it begin?
I just went to my dad and I go like, I want to go study abroad for a year. So then we kind of started watching different agencies because it's kind of complicated. You have to pick the right one. And after that, they're just going to start you on your documentation.
Okay. All right. So what were you looking for in an agency? You said you had to pick the right one.
Well, some people like look for great deals, money wise and stuff like that. I was kind of just looking for somebody that would help me with all the documentation because I'm not that good at it. So I wanted them to kind of guide me through it.
Okay. Very good. Do you have any siblings back home?
Oh, yeah. I have a sister. She's 15.
So y'all are not that far apart in age.
Yeah, no.
No.
Exactly 2 years.
So does she also want to do this now that you've done it?
Well, she's thinking about it, but she's not such a great student.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So since you brought up your dad a little bit, what was it like growing up in your house? What was your house like?
Well, my dad, his friends always joke around about this and they call him my mom because when I was a kid, my mom had to go to school, like to work really early. So my dad was the one doing my hair and getting me ready for school and picking out my clothes. And he's still the one who like cooks and stuff like that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah.
And earlier you did mention your name. I'm sure folks kind of picked up, that what country you could be from, but I don't believe we
No, we did
where,
not say.
Where are you from? Like the city?
Italian.
Okay.
I'm from Milan.
Milan. Okay. All right. So culturally, is that kind of normal for your dad to play those roles among the other dads, or is that a little bit unique to your dad?
Like here, like it's
Okay.
not that common, but people do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he stepped in. Look at him.
Yeah.
That's
And my
good.
mom was the one who was home whenever I went back home.
Okay.
She was the one who would take me to my sports and everything. So that was nice.
Good. Good.
So how old were you when you started going to school in Milan? Like kindergarten, is it the same there as it is here?
Kindergarten, like a 3. I think it's pretty much the same. We just have primary and intermediate that are like, we just do 5 years of elementary. We don't divide them in 2 and 3. And then high school, which is 5 years instead of 4.
Okay. Okay. So what grade do you graduate at? What's the
Okay, so
in Milan?
you would basically it's like here, only you wait an extra year, so you would be like 18.
Okay. So it would be
You're
like
still 18 when they graduate here. So
13th grade? Do you call it that?
well, no, we actually call it like whenever you go to high school, we call it the first, the second, the third, the fourth.
Okay.
Pretty easy.
Okay. So our average age of finish in the U.S. is around 18 to 19. Is it about the same there? Okay.
It's about the same. It's just
Okay. And culturally, as far as since we're kind of talking about school, a lot of kids in America reach that graduation age and they aspire to do something extraordinary, like either it's college or tech school or something like that. Typically, what would be next for a graduating student in Italy?
it actually depends because we have 3 different kinds of high school. There's one that only prepares you for work.
Okay.
So you just, if you go there, it's preparing you for a specific type of work and it just assumes that you're not going to go to university.
So like a vocational school, like a trade school. Very good.
And there is a school that's kind of like half and half. It's going to give you some work experience and some study experience. So after that, you can either go to work or choose a university. And then there's my school where you basically just study and you're going to go to university after that.
Yeah. So it's more academic, just language arts and math and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Do you have a specific interest?
I I was thinking about medicine, but I don't know yet.
Okay. All right. Well, you still have time. That's good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that your mom was going to school in your early life. What do your parents do? What are their
Mom
professions?
was not going to school. I got just that mixed up. But yeah, she's a nurse.
Okay.
She wanted to be, actually, she wanted to be a designer before that. But then she decided that having kids was more important to her. So she gave that up to be a nurse. And my dad wanted to be a math teacher. Then he realized university, not so good. So he just decided to start working and making more money for us to live better.
So what does your dad do now?
He works for an energy company.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And your mom did become a nurse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She still is.
And is that what kind of inspires you to want to be in medicine? Is that your mom's a nurse?
Probably.
Probably.
I just never analyzed it that much. I just had this interest in.
Well, that's okay. There's no reason to analyze it too much.
It's fairly common in the States to have dual income, like both parents work. Is that pretty common in Italy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say so.
Good.
Some people give up work, but pretty much everybody I know works.
You're right. Right. That's good.
So if another student about your age that you met here asked you about going back there to become a foreign exchange student, would you say that was a good idea
No.
to go to Milan from here?
Last year I had a friend that was in one of my classrooms. She was an exchange student from Estonia, but she was so confused because she did not know anything about Italian. And it took her really, really long to learn the language, and she couldn't just fit in. So in my head, I think you should know a little bit about the language before you go and do this exchange.
It's probably a good idea.
Yes.
Because it's like very hard.
And it's not as easy to learn Italian here in the States. It's not as common of a language taught in high school. We teach Spanish, and even I've heard German and French a few times, but not so much Italian.
Because it's too complicated.
Is it?
Yeah.
What we've had other guests who have come from other countries, and they did speak about these language opportunities in their school, and they were in one of the former Soviet states, but English was one of their options. Is that something that happens in Italy? Are there other languages are kind of woven in?
Okay.
English maybe being one of them.
You're kind of required to have English.
Okay.
That doesn't mean anything because it's seriously such a low level that like I speak in English to some of my friends and they don't even understand what I'm saying. So it's really low level, but you are required to take English.
Right.
And then around middle school, you get to choose which language to study. Okay. It's either French, Spanish, sometimes German.
Okay.
Yeah.
And English is still there also.
Yeah, English is required.
So in addition to English, obviously Italian being your native tongue, what was your other language?
French.
French, okay.
I took French in middle school and I'm taking Spanish now.
Okay. Wow. So you will have at least some level of 4 languages. That's right. Oh, wow. Look at you. That's awesome. Good for you.
So do you speak French now?
I don't speak it that fluently because I kind of gave that up after school. But if people still speak to me in French, I still pick
You can
up.
kind of get it. Yeah. Okay. So going back to Milan and comparing what you've learned about American kids your age, what are they like there versus here? Like, is the mentality the same? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think the biggest difference is that every American kid has a job. We don't get to do that. Like, I wanted a job. My dad looked at me and he was like, yeah, no, you got to study. I want you to have a good job when you grow up. So I don't want you to be distracted from your studies right now. Because school for us, it's way harder and doesn't leave much space for anything else. While here, school is a little easier on you and you get to have a job and more independence. And also, we don't drive until we're 18. So
wow, that's a big difference, huh?
Yeah, that makes people like less independent, but we do have the subway in Milan, so not a problem for me, just for other kids in Italy.
So you don't drive until you're 18
Yeah.
and you can't have a job. What sort of freedom do you have as a teenager in Milan?
Can have a job, but it's really hard to keep up with school when you have a job. Like, I would say it's probably almost impossible. All of my friends who got a job, they gave up on school.
Wow.
Yeah, there's not an option.
So what about like if you want to go to parties or a dance, do the things like that happen there?
We don't have dances like here.
Okay.
But our legal drinking age is 18. And even if you drink before that, it's not illegal. It's just illegal to buy alcohol or for people to sell it to a minor. So if I were to drink at like 16, nobody could tell me anything.
It's a pretty big difference from there to here.
Yeah.
So do you think that changes the way people think and behave?
I would say so, because like here it's pretty common to find somebody who like doesn't drink much. In Italy, it's really hard to find a kid that hasn't at least been drunk once in their life. It's really hard. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's hard.
Well, do you miss that?
Not that much.
So it wasn't a big part of your life. It just, you did it some.
Well, I go to school from Monday through Saturday.
Wow.
So I only have one night off. So we kind of don't do much. We only have a night off.
All right.
Let's go to the club sometimes, or
the club. Bar. How do you get there?
Subway.
Subway. Okay.
Get in the subway.
And when you say club, I mean, obviously, we have a version of club life, nightlife here. Is it more for teens, or is it just kind of open like we have here, all kind of ranges of adults?
It's supposed to be open, but if you know your way, you already know where you'll meet people more of your age and not too old. Yeah, it's kind of made to be a little safe for kids. So, there are some places you already know you won't meet people.
On that note, is there a lot of access to social media? Do y'all communicate a lot that way, or is it just kind of more community?
Well, we do use like Instagram and stuff like that, but here, I think that's very big here. It's Snapchat. We barely use that.
Okay.
Like nobody has that.
Right. I guess there's others like Facebook or just texting.
We just text a lot. That's a big thing.
Right.
And we use Instagram, but mostly that's it.
I want to go back to the drinking thing a little bit. In a good way. My sister did some study abroad, and she went to Italy. They started in Florence, and then they kind of went around. But her host family, one of the first things they did, every meal they had wine, but it wasn't like a party every night. It was, they told her, it's kind of because of the water content. Like, really, you don't want to be drinking the water unless it's filtered or bottled. And so they would go to these stores. They had these big vats, she said, and they would just be filling up these jugs. Now they had special wine for special occasions. So is that common? Like at most meals, there's what would be some level of just daily drinkable wine?
Changes a little bit in different families, but my grandpa, when I was a kid, he used to drink like one glass of wine every meal. And when I was a kid, I would ask him, "What's that?" And he would be like, "That's my medicine."
Medicine, yes.
But yeah, some people, especially like on the older side, they're very like still connected to this wine thing during meals.
Right. Yeah, she found that pretty interesting because culturally, that's not what we do with our children at tables here. But the kids all had their little portions, and it was really kind of interesting. So they had medicine too, I suppose.
Well, I'm curious about safety. You mentioned about how it was safe. The clubs that y'all would go to, you'd feel safe. How do you feel as far as your safety is concerned, comparing here to back home? Do you feel like it is safe here? Now you're not just in America, you're in Texas.
Yes.
And that's like a whole other country in itself. But do you feel safe here in comparison to how you felt back home?
Well, yesterday I showed up at school and my teacher called me and he was like, "Are you feeling okay?" And I'm like, "I am. Why?" And he goes like, "Did you hear about the shooting last night?"
Right.
He's like, "Are you sure you still want to be here?" So So yeah, it's kind of very different because we don't have guns. We barely have them. You have to have a lot of licenses to have a gun. So it's not as common.
Do the criminals have guns?
I mean, I've never ever heard of like shootings happening in my hometown or stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Our schools, like, we don't have to check in for our IDs. We have windows everywhere. Nobody really cares. Like, that's a big difference. Like, gun control is a big difference, I have to say. But that doesn't make me feel unsafe.
Okay. All right.
And we have common practices in the states. Like we lock our cars, lock our doors. You know, we're very much behind locked doors in our safety. Is it similar that way in your country, or is it just a little bit more open?
Well, we're not that open because, like, I live in a smaller town, but it's pretty close to Milan. So, you know, I don't trust it that much.
Okay.
It's like the big city mentality, but still, we kind of are a little bit more open, but not that much.
Okay. So there's still good safety considerations and things like that.
Okay. So, are you happy with your decision to become a foreign exchange student? Are you glad you did it?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you were going to tell your sister any advice, what would you tell her about if she wanted to do this? If she came here, what would you tell her ahead of time?
Thing that it's like a really personal decision because, like, some people might love it, some people might hate that. So I live by my policy that's no regrets. So whenever I was thinking about coming here, I just decided to come. But for people like my sister, I feel like this would be her thing, but she would miss her friends too much and she couldn't do it. So I would probably tell her not to come because she's used to having certain things, certain like commodities, certain habits that
Yeah.
you couldn't have here.
So, do you miss it real bad, like your family and your friends and all that?
I do miss them, but it's like it's easier now. Because like at first you kind of miss them a lot because you're getting used to people here and you're like, I have nobody here. And you miss them. But now like you're at that point where you have friends, so you kind of have somebody that supports you and you miss them, but not that much.
So it sounds like you're an adaptable person.
Yes,
You have chosen to become adaptable to whatever environment you place yourself in. That's very admirable. If I had to guess, I would say that your life holds in store great things because of that particular decision and ability. That's very much of an advantage over many others. So you said that you're considering the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you like to land in your grown-up life? Where would you like to end up? If you could speculate, just guess, where would you like to be? Anywhere.
I'm still undecided because I have two different dream jobs. One is being a therapist, the other one is being a surgeon.
What kind of a therapist?
Just, I haven't decided the specifics yet. Like, as for surgeon, I haven't decided my specialty yet. It's just my two dream jobs. But I do want kids, so that would be difficult to fit in with being a surgeon.
Okay.
So that's why I'm still a little bit, I don't know what to do.
So are there a lot of opportunities in Milan and in Italy like there are here? Is the marketplace for employment and the pursuit of dream jobs and things like that? Can you do whatever you want there?
It really depends on what job you want to have because some jobs are really more difficult to get and some others are just really easy.
So the jobs that you want, would they be difficult? Medical jobs?
Probably not because people are getting kind of like a little lazy. So they feel like studying that much just for a job is not what they want to do. So there probably are more openings.
In America, it's not uncommon for people to recreate themselves. So let's say they did something up till 30 years old and they decided, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something else. And I'm comparing that concept to you saying earlier that in the school years, you said by the time you get to those 5 high school years, you kind of have to kind of pick. But are there here? There's a lot of opportunities to do that. Are there those same opportunities in Italy to say, now I've been done this for 10 years. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. I want to switch. Is that pretty doable over there, or is it more difficult?
Well, I think you could, but you kind of have to have some kind of preparation, or you would have probably to go back to school because, like, you're supposed to know your stuff
Yes.
to change job.
Right.
So,
Right. So, like, if you chose to go to medical school, there are plenty of opportunities there, or would you need to maybe study in other countries and bring some of that back, or maybe just stay here in the States?
well, medical school, I think that's probably one of the easiest to find jobs because seriously, nobody's doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people see those 6 years of med school and they're like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna go to work first. I'm just gonna do an easier job.
So they don't have the ambition to pursue that.
Well, that's kind of my generation, not only in Italy. Like that's kind of
You're
everywhere.
very astute in your observations,
Right.
because I don't know too many people your age that realize that. That's very good. I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah. Because like you're implying, most people are like, well, what's here, what's now? As opposed to, I'm willing to wait and have a little bit of a delayed gratification on that.
Yeah.
That's good. That is very impressive. Yeah.
That's just a thing that my generation doesn't see anymore.
Right. Right. Probably just as much here in your as well as Italy too, because I think a lot of our
Yeah.
kids they want a quick job. They want to just get into something rather than waiting. So, oh, that's going to be good. That's
exactly one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, how do you compare the mentality of people your age here versus there? Like, are they the same?
The only difference, like the major difference, is that everybody here wants to have their independence really quick. So they just get their car, they start working, and they just want to be independent. Like while us at home, we have basically this difference. Okay, everybody here at 20 is probably living alone. They're about to get married, have kids, and stuff like that. That's our years of university. So we're going to probably have children around like late 20s, early 30s. And in those years, we just study, we learn stuff like even on a moral level,
Yeah.
travel. That's kind of a big thing for us. Like it's not that common to find people having kids and giving up on everything else at 20.
So since you brought that up, here, there's been almost a fad, like a fashionable thing for girls to get pregnant while they're late in high school and young like that. So that doesn't happen very much back home.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that if people are presented with the choice because of like our lifestyle, they just decide to focus on their studies, travel, learn about the world, and then settle down. While here, it's more of a thing to have kids really early than like drop them off at college and just go and live your life and do your experience later on.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned travel.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you've actually told me under different circumstances about some travel. You've traveled around Europe.
Well, not that much.
A little.
Just Italian people tend to not go outside of Italy.
Oh.
Because we kind of have a lot of things there. So a lot of Italian people are going to stay in Italy because it's cheaper and it's better.
Oh.
It is. We do have a little bit of everything. So
A little bit of home pride there. That's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And I've been everywhere in Italy. Then I've been to France, I've been to Greece, I've been to Turkey, and now here.
So you went to all those places. Did your parents go with you
Yeah.
to all those places?
Yes. Not everywhere around Italy. I did some trips only with my friends and some trips with some other organizations. But even when I'm with them, like they manage to give me a little independence in every place we go to.
You seem like you're very independent. You're an independent thinker. You think for yourself. You seem like a responsible person. That's good. That's going to carry you a long way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chuck.
No, I'm good. Good.
Well, so do you have a romantic relationship back home?
I used to.
You used to?
Yes.
Not to be too personal. If it's uncomfortable, you don't have to talk about it.
I feel like, well, I made a different choice. I have a best friend, and when she was presented with this dream of hers to come here and choose her relationship, she chose her relationship. So she did 2 months in Australia, and I feel like she's gonna regret it for a long time. So when I was presented a choice between choosing from my romantic relationship and coming here, I came here even knowing that my relationship would end. So
That's amazing. Yeah. You are mature beyond your years.
I just thought that my experience was more important than a person that I probably would have broken up with anyways.
I'm impressed. I would love it if you could train some of my daughters, please. I'm very impressed.
That is very impressive. And that happens a lot and I don't have a lot of experience with other cultures, but it happens a lot here in the States is that people, young people will give up tremendous opportunities, scholarships, all these things because my boyfriend, girlfriend doesn't want me. And I'm like, no, this is your chance this is your window. Don't give it up. So obviously you saw the window and you're like, no, and I know there's a lot of cliches with the relationships. If it's going to be, it will probably be, but you will be able to come back to those opportunities with even more experiences.
I do have to say that for like the first couple of months, we did try to make it work. And I have to say that I do have a friend right now who's in Canada and still has a girlfriend. And it's really harder. Like, I thought it was the right choice not to break up anything before coming here. Yeah, just break up.
Just break up. Yes.
It's very complicated. My friend right now, he spends all of his time calling his girlfriend and he does not have time to have friends. So he's hating his experience. He's completely alone just to keep happy his girlfriend back at home.
So he doesn't get to live the experience of being where he is because he's too busy maintaining that long distance relationship.
Since I broke up with my boyfriend, I feel like I'm more involved with my life here. Like I'm hanging out more with friends from here. I'm trying to build a life. I'm not only like, I have to survive this number of days until I go back home.
How old are you again? Because you are an empowered woman. You're not just a girl. That's inspiring. I hope our audience really enjoys that message you just gave.
Well, earlier you were kind of comparing you to your sisters, and we're really impressed with your ambition as far as your personal. I'm going to do this and whatever. Is that kind of coming from your family or your folks kind of that way? Like, where do you think you got that from?
I do have to say that my parents have always supported me in everything I ever chose to do.
Good.
Like, seriously, they were my biggest supporters. Even when I decided to come here, they were like, we're going to be really sad without you, but we don't want to hold you back.
Yeah.
And it's not, I have to say, it's not a thing that everybody would do. Just send their child away for 10 months.
True story. I have
to say that I appreciate that.
Right. No, I love it. I love their confidence in you and their love for you. That's really, and they seem like very responsible people. They could see, like, I think she can handle it. So we can back that up. And I hope your sister finds things that she can kind of do to kind of grow as well personally.
I think she's a little young now. I do have to say that when I was her age, I was more like her.
Okay.
It's just, those couple of years, it all depends on how you play those years.
Right. So she has a couple of years to let's see what happens.
Yes.
That's good. So you're talking to this. We're going to do a little pretend here. Maybe you go back home after your time here is over, and maybe you're asked to speak to maybe other kids your sister's age, and say, well, give them some ideas as to the best way for them to look at first themselves and then their opportunity so they can maximize their experience. Almost like you're teaching a class. What would you tell those other young people to say, if you're going to do this, this is the way I would look at it and this is the way I would approach it?
I would
Either from what you did right or what you wish you could have done better.
I would probably tell them not to have any expectations because they're probably gonna end up really badly. Because like I did not choose to come here specifically. I just said that I wanted to come to the USA.
Okay.
The only thing I was sure about was a trip to New York before coming here. Well, that did not happen. So whenever I was expecting that to happen, it kind of left me a little bit up in the air when it didn't. And I was like very confused. So the less expectations you have, the better it's going to go. Just live it how it happens.
Okay. So from a personal, like looking in on yourself, say, so now that we're kind of open to go with whatever happens, be sure that you're taking care of yourself. In what way?
Well, I just think that a lot of people, while being here, might lose themselves a little bit, like the version of them back at home.
Mm.
So I just feel like it's also important to keep relationships with people back home, like not calling them constantly, but like, I don't know, once a week, just showing up to your best friend and be like, this week, this and that happened to me. How did your week go?
Okay. Oh, that's good. So you kind of almost like you're logging your experiences through those conversations. And are you documenting any of these? Are you journaling? Are you diaried? Or do you just kind of let that happen through these weekly talks?
I'm just kind of letting it happen with these weekly talks.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got an excellent memory. You'll remember most all of it. But a lot of people might record this somehow. And but these conversations are really good because it kind of keeps it fresh, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of people need open like YouTube channels and stuff like that to record themselves and their experience. I just feel like I've always had a great memory.
Yeah, evidently.
Well, you're showing it off.
Right. Yeah. And I do congratulate that. It sounds as though whether it would just kind of came natural or maybe somebody mentored you a little bit, you obviously picked up on this is what's going to make this a good experience. And who knows? And I say we're kind of in teaching mode right now. We're in interview mode, but we do a lot of coaching and counseling too. And usually it's trying to draw out of people some of the talent that's in there. And so I bet your sister's listening. So it's going to be good.
Yeah,
it's good.
You have a lot to offer. And if I could encourage you with any little bit of encouragement, it would be to mentor your peers that way, to give what you like, the stuff that you talked about today so far in the interview. You have displayed some philosophical truths that I don't know too many people your age have realized them. So if you were so inclined, I would definitely encourage you to push that message out there to your peer groups, especially American kids.
Right.
So I love that you keep connection with your home identity.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good. I think that's very healthy. So we're getting close to the end. And I want to thank you again. You've been an honor and privilege to have you on here with us today. I've learned a lot. I would bet that Chuck has learned a lot as well.
Definitely.
And I've got a couple of questions to ask as we work towards the close. You ended up in Texas. Now you wanted to go to New York, but you came to.
That was supposed to be a little trip before coming here, like an adapting thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I did not.
You wanted to visit. You wanted to visit New York, but you ended up in Texas, and you didn't choose Texas.
Yeah, no.
But Texas wanted you anyway, and we're glad you made it here. And when you go abroad, when you go places, and you're from here, and if I go to the Bahamas and someone asks me where I'm from, I don't say America, even though I am an American and proud of it. I tell them I'm a Texan. And that changes the dynamic. So when you go back home and people ask you, how was your trip to America? And you say, well, I went to Texas. So my question is, what will you take back with you? And I'm hoping that you take a little bit of our language. Can you think of any words that we say that are not common
Well, y'all.
That's written right
Nobody
there.
else uses that.
I love it. So will you take y'all with you when you go?
Well,
Well, I hope that someday down the road, I hear that Miriam is saying y'all in Italy.
Right.
I hope that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And is there anything that you would like to say to our audience or to us as we draw to a close about your life, about life in general, about anything at all? Any little nuggets of advice or experience?
I would seriously just say live your life with no regrets.
I love it.
It helped me.
Obviously.
And I think it would help a lot of people if they started to actually live by that.
I don't disagree with you one little bit. Chuck, have you anything to add?
Not in the form of a question, but just thank you for being our guest today. It's been really informative and impressive, and I think you're going to be great. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll follow up in some time in the future. And if we get, even if you're not here, maybe we'll sophisticate and do this through tech or something, and just so our audience can follow up and just to see where your life is going to be in the near future and beyond. So I congratulate you, and we do wish you very well. And thank you for coming to Texas. Yeah, what an honored guest. Good deal.
Well, Miriam, thank you again for joining us today. And I'd like to thank the audience for allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. Again, I'm Robbie.
I'm Chuck.
And this is
Miriam.
all right, that's it. Y'all have a great day.